Namaste to everyone. And in the year 2000, choosing to go online for sustainable future was a rare and challenging decision. Driven by pure creativity and innovation, by 2020, going online is just easy. It has become a necessity for sustaining our very future. This year has turned our world upside down, and we find ourselves held hostage by our own circumstances. Yet humanity is known to rise to the occasion when faced with the great challenges. It's time to shift our focus from merely surviving to actively seeking sustainable solutions for the future. We aim to unite everyone to reflect on our environment, something we may have inadvertently taken for granted. On September 21st, ECNAU presented 24-hour-long web symposium. It's started at 12 hours IST on September 21, 2020, and ended at the same time the next day. This symposium gathered key stakeholders from over 50 countries across all time zones, potentially attracting 1 million participants. For us, sustainability development encompasses environmental, economic, social, and cultural well-being for both today and tomorrow. There can be no sustainable development without education of both the mind and the heart. Dedicated to World Environment Day on 5th June 2024, this event highlights the consequences of our collective greed and indiscrimination. Thoughtless human action have deeply scared our planet. The climate emergency, loss of biodiversity, and severe pollution threaten to destroy our home and countless species that share this beautiful planet. Our lives, peace, and well-being are under unprecedented threat. However, this degradation is not inevitable. We possess the power and knowledge to reverse the damage and restore Earth if we act now. Join the movement to intensify global effort for generation, restoration, and address the triple planetary crisis: climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Here we present the 5th edition of the world's largest and longest environment online event, a 24-hour run non-stop marathon on June 4-5, 2024. In this event, we aim the bringing together organizations and individuals from all around the globe to showcasing their climate action, share insights, and raise awareness about environmental restoration and the care of our only home planet. I, Jay Kumar Singh, Director, ECNAU, welcome all the eminent personality, guests for the day and speaker around the world to have a fruitful session in the next 24 hours. Let's unite to celebrate our planet and deliberate on sustainable living. Act now. I'm sharing my screen for all the guests, those who are there. Give me a second. I'll share my screen.
In the heart of the forest, where the ancient oaks sway, a whisper echoes through the leaves, a promise to convey. The earth, weary and scarred, yearns for healing grace, and so begins our journey to restore this sacred space. We'll plant the seeds of hope where devastation once stood, nurturing the soil as we knew we should. With hands in the dirt and hearts intertwined, we'll breathe life into the land, one tree at a time. Roots of renewal, reaching deep and wide, beneath the sun's warm devastation once stood, nurturing the soil as we knew we should. With hands in the dirt and hearts intertwined, we'll breathe life into the land, one tree at a time. Roots of renewal, reaching deep and wide, beneath the sun's warm embrace, side by side. From barren wastelands to lush green plains, together where we reign, nature's refrain. In the heart of the forest, where the ancient oaks sway, a whisper echoes through the leaves, a promise to convey. The earth, weary and scarred, yearns for healing grace, and so begins our journey to restore this sacred space. We'll plant the seeds of hope where devastation once stood, nurturing the soil as we knew we should. With hands in the dirt and hearts intertwined, we'll breathe life into the land, one tree at a time. Roots of renewal, reaching deep and wide, beneath the sun's warm embrace, side by side. From barren wastelands to lush green plains, together we'll rewrite nature's refrain. The rivers once polluted now shimmer crystal clear, as we cleanse their waters, banishing every fear. The birds return to nest, their melodies revive, a symphony of resilience echoing through the sky. We'll plant the seeds of hope where devastation once stood, nurturing the soil.
Over to Rajiv Shrivastava, founder Act Now. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, JK sir. Thank you so much. He has already given a brief. I'm very glad that all our special guests in this inauguration session. I welcome Himanshu ji, and a few days back we met him in the office, and I'm sure there is a planter resting at his table on his left side. And Pratya Prahlad ma'am is busy, he's traveling, she'll be joining tomorrow. Mrs. Ambika Pant, her camera is giving a bit of trouble. She is Honorary Secretary of the Model School Trust. Sheelam Seth, CEO of Sri Educare Limited. Rajinder Saji, who is the Vice President of Sri Educare Limited. And Dr. Aniruddha Gupta, CEO of DCM Group of Schools. Thank you so much for being here. And I must give you a very small brief in just few seconds how it started. We have been working for these little climate actions, environmental actions around the world. And when Corona hit us, we did not know what to do because all physical conferences stopped. So in 2020, we are celebrating 20 years of Environment Online, which started in Finland. And we had an idea because we had this member countries from almost 150 countries. So we thought we'll do a celebratory event and we'll cover the countries from where the sun rises and where it ends. And we took up this challenge for 24 hours and everybody laughed at it because they're the only Indians are mad enough to do that. But then it happened. And then we realized the potential of having this hybrid culture where you can get influencers, environmentalists, people of some metal who can influence youth from around the world to join, because obviously it's not possible in physical form all the time. So thank you very much for being here. And I don't have to tell you, Himanshu is here, there's 25,000, over 25,000 schools, how many people and students we are reaching. And we realize that in every, you see businesses, there is a networking. In every area, politics, there is networking. Education, climate, we lack networking. So that is why our efforts always seem small. And we're glad to inform that last night, we received an email from the UNEP that they have thought this event important enough to include on the UN Decade of Restoration event list. So many congratulations to especially JK sir. He has been here with me for 20 years. All the students, you don't know, in the background, these about 50 students have been working day in and day night, attending sessions for 3 hours. skipping their tuition classes. So such is the bane of education system, especially in Delhi NCR. And I'm glad that you have found time out to be here with us. So without wasting time, we would like to show you a small theme dance, which is performed by modern school ECNCR students in this scorching heat. It was only done in 24 hours time. And I'll show you a theme song also. It's all done by, the lyrics were generated by AI, and the entire sequence, even the theme was composed by AI only the clips have been used. So I'll request JK sir to play this first, the dance sequence performed by modern school ECNCR students, track V2 and then V1, the theme song for this event.
In a world so big, we often feel small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. Through the power of knowledge, we're lighting minds, spreading the message, one student at a time. From mountains to oceans, we'll protect the land. With that now, united we'll make a stand. We'll make a stand. In a world so big, we're small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. Through the power of knowledge, we're lighting minds, spreading the message, one student at a time. From mountains to oceans, we'll protect the land. With that now, united we'll make a stand. We'll make a stand. In a world so big, we're small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. In a world so big, we often feel small, but together we can make a difference. Standing tall with every step we take, we're creating change. Ad knows the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me, ooh yeah. The forest where the ancient oaks sway, a whisper echoes through the leaves, a promise to convey. The earth, weary and scarred, yearns for healing grace. And so begins our journey to restore this sacred space. We'll plant the seeds of hope where devastation once stood, nurturing the soil as we knew we should. With hands in the dirt and hearts intertwined, we'll breathe life into the land, one tree at a time. We're something new, reaching deep and wide, beneath the sun's warm embrace, side by side. From barren wastelands to lush green plains, together we'll rewrite nature's refrain. The rivers once polluted now shimmer crystal clear, as we cleanse their waters, banishing every fear. The birds return to nest, their melodies revive, a symphony of resilience echoing through the sky. We'll plant the seeds of hope where devastation once stood, nurturing the soil as we knew we should. With hands in the dirt and hearts intertwined, we'll breathe life into the land, one tree at a time. Roots of renewal, reaching deep and wide, beneath the sun's warm embrace, side by side. From barren wastelands to lush green plains, together we'll rewrite nature's refrain.
Nature, it's our sacred beauty. Protect the forest, the mountains, the beauty. No nature, no future, it's a simple truth. Let's come together and make a breakthrough. Plan for the planet, act now, don't wait. Leave the leaves, let the river flow, it's not too late. Let's change not the climate, but our ways in God's country, find brighter days. In God's country we'll find brighter days.
Thank you very much, JK sir. Without wasting much time, I'll just give you a session brief in 10 seconds. We'll be joined at 12:30 by Tim Christopherson, who was crucial behind this hashtag Generation Restoration when UNDP started this 10-year UN Decade on Restoration. Currently, he's a board member of UN Decade on Restoration. He is currently in Denmark. Then we're joined by UNDP Natalia Alexeva, who is currently coordinator on Decade of Ecosystems, and joined by Samantha Devlos, who is the technical specialist for implementation of Decade and Restoration. Now I request my guests, all the guests, to have opening statements, shorter statements, so we are into time. Requesting Himanshu sir, your take, please.
I would like to congratulate Rajiv Srivastavaji and JK Singh ji, who are the founders of the Act Now Foundation. I think it's a wonderful initiative that all of you have taken. It is very, very important right now for entire globe to start acting now if we really want to preserve our future, if we really want to give our future generations an environment where they can thrive, they can prosper, they can live a decent life. So now it is very, very important. We are seeing right now what is happening in Delhi. Temperature has even gone up to 52 degrees Celsius. We are seeing erratic rainfalls at many places in southern India or northeast India or across the globe. So a lot of changes are happening, and now it is the crucial time for all of us to start working. And this has to start from the youth and the young brigade. And I'm very happy to find that a lot of students have been involved in this initiative by ACNOW Foundation. And it is the youth that have to basically take the lead and tell everyone that enough is enough. We have to take care of the environment. We have to protect the environment in way of afforestation, in way of waste segregation, in way of creating a sustainable environment where electricity usage is normalized, the usage of fossil fuels is reduced, and more focus is on sustainable ways of living. The mindset of everything being done in excessive way is curbed. Everyone tries to reduce the carbon footprint by his or her own initiative. That is the need of the hour. And from a board point of view, I would like to tell that a lot of new courses and syllabus are being developed on environment sustainability, and we want that youth of this nation and of this globe to take lead in giving this message to everyone that if we do not act now, then our future is in massive danger. Our entire next generation will suffer, and even this generation will see the drastic degradation. And that is why it is very important that all of us now get prepared to act now. So I once again, since tomorrow is World Environment Day, I am very happy to note that a 24-hour long online long marathon running this initiative of online webinar is being organized. And I'm sure that people from across the globe will join this, and all of us will come together on this platform to really bring sustainable development in society, and to really bring change by way of changing our own lives first, and coming together for this novel initiative. So my best wishes to Act Now Foundation and everyone, and thank you so much for inviting. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mansu sir. Your being here for a few minutes is very important. It will help the youth at least to gather courage to take climate action in their hands. And I know CBSE is doing a lot, pushing through NEP, which is primarily focused on one of the key areas that it focuses on is environmental awareness and climate action. Thank you, sir. I request Ambika madam, she is here online. This camera is giving a bit of problem, but ma'am, can you just speak a few words that will be very encouraging for the students? Good morning, ma'am. Good to see you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me join you on this very, very important initiative. As Himanshu ji just said, congratulations firstly to all the organizers and for mobilizing so many children, because they are going to inherit the world. And policy and planning across the world happens at so many levels, from country level initiatives to world initiatives. But action eventually has to be taken by students, by children, by individuals. And these kind of initiatives are sensitizing children to what is going to happen. We are all feeling the pain of what is happening in the world today, be it fires, floods, or intense heat. And I would like to point out that we feel it as humans and we take care of it in different ways. But the first impact of this kind of climate change happens on our forests and animals and jungles. And that is very well documented and observed what's happening. So, Act Now, a very apt name for this program, requires all of us to pitch in and do what requires to be done to save the planet. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I remember one of the words of a monk in climate agreement in Paris in 2015. He said, in order to solve global warming, we all have to chill. So it goes like that. We have to take a step back and think about what we exactly do in our daily lives that impact us. May I now request Seelam Said sir to say a few words?
Namaste, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I think so. Distinguished guests and especially JK sir and Rajiv sir, what a wonderful initiative it is. To have spelt it out, tomorrow never comes. Act now. What it can't be more appropriate than this. I happen to be in United States currently. In fact, a couple of days I was in one of the schools in New York. And I think so this is a common cause which is there across the world. We have our Mother Earth, which is actually going through really rough times. And I think so it's our responsibility to really protect this particular environment. I think so we are also progressing. It's nothing wrong in progress. But the real issue which is coming out, that how are we progressing? It's very important for us to sit down, reflect, and understand, are we progressing in the right direction? To conserve nature is very important. I think so in the initial stages, maybe a few decades back, we maybe did not realize, but the kind of impact it is creating when we are actually going through this journey of progress, we are just undermining the nature. We have realized it. It's good we have realized. And I really, really would like to congratulate the entire organizing committee for this, to have involved the young leaders into this initiative. And that is our children, because they are the future. They are the ones who are going to hold this mantle and take it forward. At Tree Educare Limited, we also really emphasize for the conservation of nature, and we really have various programs actually in this direction. I really would like to have young leaders coming up with various projects, coming up with various innovative ideas, because we all want both progress as well as conservation of nature to coexist. It cannot happen that we only have one part of it. And the ideas which are going to come from our children, it's very critical to actually take them into our mind, give them that particular consciousness that it's very important. And I can tell you for sure, we have initiated few programs when we have done it with our Shri Educate schools. Such wonderful ideas come up. And I'm sure in this 24-hour long marathon session, I'm sure a lot of ideas are going to come up. Children are going to take a few projects and they are going to take this particular cause forward. I wish you all the best. And I think so, as SEL, we will always be there to help in this cause of conserving the nature. Thank you so much, and namaste, everyone.
Thank you, Seelam sir. Thank you so much for being here. I now hand over to Dr. Anirudh Gupta, CEO of DCM Group Private Schools. Anirudh sir.
Hello, Mr. Rajiv, Dr. Singh, Dr. Chindel, all the organizers. It's an extremely important day for the country. While we are electing a new government today, and we are talking about a most crucial aspect of our lives, that's the environment protection. So credit goes to the entire team, organizing team, for having thought of such an extremely vital initiative and organizing this symposium, which underscores our collective commitment to environmental protection and the ecosystem restoration. Friends, as we all know, United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, they aim to achieve a sustainable environment to live a healthy life. Someone today's edu leaders cannot overlook. Our mission is clear: to act decisively and immediately to safeguard our planet for future generations. And I totally endorse Mr. Seelam's point of view that I think it's heartening to see the younger generation participating in these kind of initiatives. I think the most important aspect is to sensitize them and, create the entire ecosystem where, all the stakeholders, from our students to the parents to the society at large, we all can work collectively. The urgency of our task cannot be overstated. The Earth's ecosystem is under unprecedented strain. A few days ago, we realized about the water scarcity in Delhi, the national capital. Fine. What is happening in hills? What is happening in deserts? So climate change, pollution, deforestation, biodiversity, they are not distant threats. They are the pressing realities that demand our immediate attention. The SDGs provide a comprehensive framework to address these challenges, but achieving them requires concerted effort and unwavering dedication. Environmental protection and ecosystem restoration are cornerstones of sustainable development. They are essential not only for health of our planet, but also for the well-being of its inhabitants. Clean air, potable water, fertile soil, thriving biodiversity are fundamental to our survival and prosperity. So I will like to focus on three key areas. One is the policy and governance. Effective environmental policies and robust governance framework are most critical. Governments, they must implement and enforce regulations that protect natural resources, reduce emissions, and promote sustainable practices. I'm so happy today only there was a circular from CBSE to celebrate the World Environment Day. And the kind of initiatives as a board CBSE is taking and the entire educational fraternity is taking, I think it's incredible. I'm sure with all these collective initiatives, and with the right kind of policy framework, with the kind of renewable energy, supporting sustainable agriculture, and the relevant laws against illegal poaching, etc. So we will be able to achieve our goals. Secondly, about the community engagement and education. So communities are at the heart of environment protection efforts, and our education community, this symposium is itself ample testimony to the fact that we are concerned and we already taken a leap forward. And more such initiatives, not only talking about it, about implementing all these novel ideas, which during the course of next 2 days we are all going to gather. Innovation and technology. So it's very important to leverage technology, bring innovative ideas to deal with all these issues we are talking about here. So the role of school children in environment protection and ecosystem restoration, as I said, is both vital and transformative. By educating, empowering, and involving them in meaningful activities, we are not only addressing current environmental challenges, but also laying a foundation for a more sustainable and resilient world. Let's all continue to support and nurture our young environmental champions, for they hold the key to a brighter and a greener future. As we gather here today, let's remember that our actions have a profound impact on the environment. Each of us has a role to play, whether as policymakers, scientists, educators, principals, teachers, all concerned citizens. By working together, we can create a sustainable future where ecosystems are restored, biodiversity flourishes, and community thrives. As an environmental engineer myself, I think there cannot be a better platform to express my ideas, to share my concerns. And as an edu leader, it gives me, lot of satisfaction that our community is thinking on these lines, is organize such kind of initiatives. And the presence of the Secretary CBSE and all the eminent officials, also reflects the kind of interest uh, at the policy makers level being taken. So I'm sure that this symposium will go a long way in, addressing our concerns and in creating a more brighter and a more greener environment for all of us. So my best wishes to all the organizers, my compliment to the entire organizing team. And on behalf of organizing team also, I like to express the gratitude to all the speakers, to all the parents and to all the students, those who have taken out time, as I said, on this most important day to participate, whether 90% of the country is deliberating on the political aspects. We are the bunch of the people who are deliberating on the environmental aspects. So my congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anil sir, and thank you so much. And I also thank Dr. Rajesh Chandel, a good friend of us for so many years, for getting you here and the entire school in this participation in this event. Thank you, sir, so much. May I now request Rajendra sir to please speak a few words, then we'll move on to Tim Christopherson, whose session is due now. And thank you so much for again to all the speakers and all the guests for this inaugural session. Thank you so much. Rajendra sir. Can you unmute yourself? Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So namaste to everyone. Mr. Singh, Mr. Rajiv, and other panelists, guests, and our wonderful children. It's good to see the participation of a lot of children there. As an educator, it's always heartwarming to see the children involving themselves in such a good initiative. Wonderful team here. See, essentially, we all know that the environment challenges are there. There is a problem there. But I guess that we possibly do not have the realization of the magnitude of the problem. So all of us are staying that NCR, we do realize that there is a problem coming in the month of November whenever there's a pollution and everything, right? But by the time December and January, everything comes right, we tend to forget it. And this is the tendency that we have seen in the recent past as well, that possibly it's a temporary problem and then we will see the solution later. But it doesn't happen. It's very critical to understand that where our children, they can bring in that kind of energy, that passion, their actions, however small or big, they can contribute to this effect or effort to ensure that we all do realize the magnitude of the problem. From the scientific point of view, we know that these environment issues are always a vicious circle. One thing leads to another. You have the problem of global rise in temperature, which leads to the rise in ocean levels, which leads to the other issues. One important aspect about this is that we need a holistic approach to it, involving not only one particular segment of the society, say children also. It has to start with us. It has to start with you and me, right? Unless and until that effort is there, we all hold that power to, sort of enact meaningful change. And it is important that we take this opportunity to act decisively and in unity. Unless and until we do that, right, we'll have all the problems of the human health, and it is going to affect the economics as well. We've seen that the worst changes of environment have happened in the last 10 or 15 years, and it's becoming worse. Government initiatives, we had Paris Agreement in 2016. The greatest polluter, perhaps the US, right? it's the one that who actually withdrew from it, right, in 2 or 3 years after that. Our India is taking a very long and very valuable strides to address the issues of environment. But what we are not realizing is that climate change doesn't affect only one segment of the geography or one segment of the society, but it does affect the large populace. So whatever actions we do today will have an effect, right, somewhere else as well. We as humanity need to actually understand this, that this is not a problem that is for a particular location or particular country. No, it is for all of us. I would recommend here that since as an educator that we have the youth here, they here, as I said, your energy, your passion, right, must drive the change that we need. We must all try and embrace sustainable practices in our daily life, right? And our environmental policies at our schools, at our educational institutes must also ensure that, right, we take giant strides to address these and sensitize those children about this one. We have our very, very strong program at all free education schools, Environment Conscious Program, ECP. We did feel that there is an objective of the program is to sensitize children on issues related to environment and to motivate them, to adopt those sustainable lifestyle. And we do this through very pedagogical initiatives. One of the initiatives that we did last year was that we have this inter-school competition of online Shri Sabran. So the theme of that Sabran last year was that SDG Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. And I must tell the audience here that we were really surprised to see that, some of our schools from a very small location, geographical location, very small schools also, they brought such good projects, right? And the campaign that they launched in school for about a month or so, right? That really was heartwarming. And that's where our future lies, right? We need to take very decisive, very definite steps to make history, or otherwise we will be history, right, in the near future only. One of the aspects, I'll leave this thought with everyone, that if there is a rise in temperature, say by 3 degrees by the end of 2050, suppose, right, perhaps 2/3 of the world will no longer be there. It is just 3 degrees, which was earlier supposed to be at the end of 2100. Now it's being advanced. We need to do something from our end itself and ensure that we leave a greener planet for the youngsters who are participating here and all across the world. Thank you. Thank you for such a wonderful initiative and wonderful opportunity, sir. All the very best, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Rajinder ji. And again, I thank you all the main speakers of this first inaugural session. We are headed into a bit of time infringement. So may I request JK sir to now play out Tim Christopherson interview we took 2 days back, because he was in a farmhouse in Denmark, his own farmhouse. And he is a person who was crucial person behind Generation Restoration in 2020. And he was live from Kenya on that year, 3 years back. And we committed ourselves to 10 years of UN Decade on Restoration. So may I request JK sir to play track V21.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you.
Okay. We just take 2 minutes to just chit chat and then we'll start formally.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
Okay, I was just telling these students about when you were there 2 years back, 3 years back, when we started this Generation Restoration in 2021. They have seen your interviews also, and these both students are in my own school. And last year, I think Barminder, one of the girls, she interacted with Susan Gardner. And you know what impact it has brought. We have been doing for 5 years. And some of the students are now become devoted climate activists. So they are looking for something to be done, which is our aim anyway. So like these are two very sincere ones who have entirely school time they devoted to running. I'm currently, both are outside. Mai is in Vietnam, traveling because he's in a hotel room, getting this interview done. Barminder is in Jaipur. But their dedication is something that makes us happy. And that's the entire purpose of having these conferences, so they can engage youth into whatever we have been trying to do. So that's it. And
very nice to meet you both.
Okay. So can we start formally, because I think I have only limited time until 2 o'clock.
Sure.
Okay, so this will put on record. It's being recorded now. Good afternoon, Tim, and good morning. Today we are happy to have Tim Christopherson with ACT Now once again. Currently, Tim is the board member for UN Decade on Restoration and vice president at Salesforce. Tim has devoted nearly his entire professional life to climate and nature, working different capacities at European Union, IUCN, and United Nations Environment Programme. A crusader for serious corporate climate funding, Tim was crucial behind the hashtag Generation Restoration. In 2021, in the year United Nations General Assembly proclaimed UN Decade on Restoration, which is a 10-year time frame to get our actions right, Tim was live with us from UNEP headquarters in Kenya in the second version of this event. It was titled Peace is Green, Every Act Matters. ACT Now welcomes you, Tim. We are very thankful to you for taking time out from your very busy schedule to chat with two of very young students, 13-year-old Barminder Kaur and 13-year-old Mahi Sood, both students in the model school, Esciencia, Delhi. Can you let us know where you are at the moment and if you have any opening statements?
Thank you, Rajiv, and hello, Barminder and Mahi. Very nice to meet you. I'm calling in from my family farm in Denmark. We are in the south of Denmark, and we're restoring a piece of land here that we bought 3 years ago, including planting a lot of trees here, fruit trees, and we planted a forest last year and established a lake on one of the fields. So I'm calling from my family farm.
That's great. I was in Copenhagen some time back, and the city struck me because it's probably one of the very few capitals in the world which has preserved its natural beauty. It hasn't fiddled around with the buildings, the structure of the buildings, and the architecture plan. So that's very nice. My first question, then I'll hand it over to you, our young students. We have already completed 1/3 of UN Decade on Restoration, which is third year, and it's a 10-year time frame. Are you personally happy with the pace of change it might have impacted?
So there's a saying that we often overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate how much we can do in a decade. I'm personally very happy with the pace at which the UN Decade is picking up, because I see the pace accelerating almost exponentially. It was very slow in the first year and then picked up in the second year. And now we're in year 3 of implementation, and we are. I'm very happy with the emergence of a global restoration economy. There's a lot of businesses that are now shifting their purpose. There's a lot of subsidies that still need to be shifted from fossil fuels or other harmful activities towards restoration or other beneficial activities. But that is starting to happen now, and we're not even halfway through the decade, and the pace is picking up.
That's natural, because you are a stubborn climate optimist, and so are we. So now I'd like to request Mahi to have some questions for you. Mahi?
Yeah. Good day, sir. I am Mahi Sood, a grade 8 student at the modern school Esciencia, Delhi, and an ACT Now member. Tim, sir, could you let us know the story behind the hashtag Generation Restoration?
So the hashtag was actually coined by a young woman from Eritrea. Her name is Salina Abraham, and she is now working for the International Agroforestry Research Center, or ICRAF, in Nairobi in Kenya. And she came up with the idea during a meeting we had in New York at the UNEP offices just after the UN Decade was established by the General Assembly. And it has been a very good choice, I think, to make that the main hashtag for the UN Decade, because it's persistently appearing across all social media platforms.
Barminder?
So exciting. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Birminder. I'm a grade 8 student at the Modern School and an avid ACNAU member. So today I'd like to ask you, sir, what precisely makes it so significant to ascertain the fact that the Sustainable Development Goals lie at the center of every decision, be it minuscule or colossal, that we as individuals make, and how can we actually implement these decisions in real time?
The Sustainable Development Goals, as you know, there are 17 goals and there's 169 targets. So there's a lot to take in for individuals. What I would suggest is you pick the one that speaks most closely to you, or the ones. For me, that is goals 14, life below water, and goal 15, life on land, or together, basically the two goals about biodiversity in our biosphere. And there are other people who work more on peace or gender equality or quality education. And I think there's definitely room for everybody. But I would say, you know, you go through the list and then you say which ones speak to me, and you put your effort behind those. And they can then be broken down into manageable aspects like restoration of forests, where we put a lot of focus as a business, as Salesforce, through the Trillion Trees initiative. And we also have a lot of activities on the ocean.
Right. And so, as we closely follow up with your profile, we see all the wonderful work that you do with respect to the goal climate action as well. And as that brings me to my next question, as you being the great man of nearly 2 decades of experience with the UNEP and as a board member on hashtag Generation Restoration, can you share with us and explicate how these youth initiatives that the UNEP takes up act as a catalyst in the sustainability revolution? And have they genuinely brought us closer to our restoration goal with respect to 2030?
The youth engagement and youth empowerment are absolutely critical to build the political will. That is the most important thing we need for success, is political will for all the changes that we need to make, and for investments in new research and development and the transformations of our society. And political will can be built from expressing your opinion. This is where young people are usually very good, because they're very outspoken, very savvy with new communication tools, and usually very opinionated, which is all very useful. And therefore, making that heard is extremely important. I think on the 5th of June this year, World Environment Day, there's also a campaign on generation restoration that will launch, and UNEP has designed very useful assets. I hope you will share them with everybody who watches, on a social media challenge for generation restoration. And these things do matter. Everything, every step and every single action that we do matter. And even more than that, every thought we take matters. Every thought we think, because thoughts are our way of putting energy out there into the universe, and at the end of the day, materializing our thoughts through words, through actions, into concrete change. So it's not only that every action matters, every thought matters as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You're a strong advocate for nature-based solutions. For audience our age, could you illuminate on these? And what are the misconceptions about it that needs to be addressed and highlighted?
When we speak about nature-based solutions, we mean nature's ability to help us solve any challenge that we face. This can be climate change, but it can also be food security, water security, energy security. And if you take an example of coastal protection, which becomes very important in times of climate change, there was a large tsunami in the year 2004, now quite a long time ago, and it hit countries like Sri Lanka. And in areas where you had mangrove forests on the coast, the damage was much less than areas where you did not have mangroves. So this is one of nature's solutions for protecting houses and hotels and coastal infrastructure. It is a nature-based solution, and it's one that we can reestablish. we can plant mangroves and we can restore and conserve the remaining mangroves in the world. And at the same time, that nature-based solution will ensure that we have commercial fish stocks in the tropics in particular, because there's many tropical fish species that are commercially fished that spend their first weeks or months of their lives in mangroves. And thus, there's only with healthy mangroves that we have fish to eat, and people don't often make sort of those kinds of connections, how important ecology and nature is for our well-being.
Right. And so, as we speak of nature-based solutions in the context of youth and its strong voice for expression, how do you think we can foster the essence of sustainable development and make sustainability the easier option in every case for today's luxury-driven generation?
I think we can have both abundance in our life and live a sustainable lifestyle. It is, of course, first of all, important to differentiate between what we need as humans and what we want. Sometimes people want a lot more than they really need. And that goes back to a saying attributed to Gandhi: the world has enough for everybody's needs, but not enough for everybody's greed, right? This is the first step. But secondly, if I take the example of the place where I live, we put up solar panels here last year on our farm, and this has been a very sunny period now. So we have an abundance of clean electricity right now. There's no shortage of power for everything we need on the farm. So it's not always about restricting or sacrificing the way we live. It's about finding alternatives that are cleaner and greener and safer than the energy grid and generation that we currently have, for example. And this goes for other things as well, like food. We have definitely enough food on the planet that is produced for 9 or even 10 billion people that we expect to have on the planet by 2050. But it's about how and where that food is grown. You can do it either in an extractive and destructive way by depleting and degrading the soil, or you can grow agroforestry systems, for example, that are rebuilding the soil. And I'm very pleased in the state of Andhra Pradesh, for example, there's community-based natural farming systems now spreading very rapidly from village to village. And those systems not only produce more and more diverse and healthier food, but they also restore the soil. They draw more carbon into the soil. They prepare the community for climate change. They build resilience. They increase biodiversity. They increase water availability. So there are win-win-win options where we can live well and can live sustainably.
Exactly. Thank you, sir.
So, in your opinion, what are the most pressing environmental challenges we face today, and how can individuals contribute in addressing them?
There are three major challenges we face. One is climate change, and that is quite well known now, luckily, especially amongst the young generation. The second is the loss of nature or the loss of biodiversity. And the third is pollution. So these triple planetary crises is something that our generation and the coming generation need to address. And they're also interlinked. Nature, for example, can be a powerful tool to slow and adapt to climate change. Pollution, including pollution of the ocean with plastics, is caused or is a byproduct of the overuse of fossil fuels. So we can, again, take steps that address many of these challenges at the same time.
Right, that's such a magnificent insight, sir. And now to ask you a question on more of a lighter note, as someone who calls himself a stubborn climate optimist, Can you please elaborate on what the significance of optimism is towards protecting our planet and how I can be a climate optimist as well?
Optimism is so important. And by the way, there's a podcast by Christiana Figueres and Tom Rivett-Carnac, Outrageous Optimism, I think it is called, based on her book about global optimism. Optimism is so important because if you want to be successful with anything in life, you need to believe in its success. So that's optimism. That also goes for climate action and goes for sustainability. But there are two kinds of optimism. There's a very smart economist called Paul Romer who has defined these two kinds of optimism. One is that of a child waiting for a Christmas present. You just sit and wait and you think, it'll be fine. I'll get a present.
Exactly.
That's at the moment no longer enough, because if we just sit around and wait for somebody else to save the planet, it might not happen. The second kind of optimism is what is called conditional optimism. It is comparable to when my kids were a bit younger and they said, let's go and build a tree house. And then started to look around for the tools and the boards and the nails and the hammer and everything we need, and getting myself and their siblings and others to help, and getting the neighbors to collaborate. And that is conditional optimism. You believe that you can do it, but you also make sure you have the resources and the help and the tools, and you take action. That is conditional optimism. And that's very powerful. That's a form of optimism we can all cultivate. And the nice thing about it is the more action you take, the more optimistic you become, because action generates hope, and hope generates more action. So it is a virtuous cycle that we can all enter into.
Right. Thank you, sir.
That's very nicely put. I mean, when you spend all your life into nature and climate, things come out so naturally to you. So I have two pertinent questions. I mean, they're not easy questions, but as the head of the climate branch at UNEP, and you have been with UNEP for such a long time, what were your some biggest challenges in that role, the last role that you led? And I'm not asking about challenges. I'm asking about challenges which have nothing to do with climate or environment. I mean, if you can talk about it, that's nice. If you're not comfortable with that, it's perfectly fine.
I believe the United Nations are one of the most important institutions we have on the planet. They are the only platform where the entire world's population, where our truly global civilization can meet and decide a way forward. That is very important and potentially very powerful. It is also very difficult because you need to get agreement from everybody, and people have very diverse views on issues, and often they are enemies. Think of the open conflicts we have now in the world and the wars that have erupted just in the past few years. So getting agreement on global issues has always been the most difficult thing to achieve, which is why an agreement like the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which has been agreed by all UN member states, there's a unanimously passed resolution to halt and reverse the degradation of ecosystems worldwide. These are very powerful moments and mandates that we can take and work with. Similarly, there's the Paris Agreement on Climate Change from 2015. There's the new Global Biodiversity Framework from December 2022. And these global agreements can help us overcome the differences that there always are between nations, between peoples, between different beliefs, between different faiths. But at the end of the day, we also have a lot of commonalities. So the most difficult and at the same time the most exciting thing working for the UN is to generate that kind of consensus.
That's good. And one more question, which I asked Sushan also last time. It's like, powerful governments can be powerful threat to nature also, and vice versa. I mean, we've seen the examples. We've seen in Brazil, we have seen in whatever happens in Russia and Ukraine, currently seen in the Middle East. They can do away with decades of very good work on ground in no time. So what's your view on that?
So electing the right leaders is immensely important. And especially in India with an upcoming election, but also many other places, there's over 60% of the world's population that votes this year. It's more than any other time in human history. That is so important because I'll give you one example. The new government in Brazil, when President Lula took office last year, and from then until now, in just over a year, they've reduced the deforestation rate in the Brazilian Amazon by more than 50%. So just changing the government made that change possible. And that change is so important for all of humanity because of the climate importance of the Amazon, because it's such an important harbor of biodiversity. So choosing the right leaders and voting for the right leaders is very important. I think you're probably both still too young to vote, but you can still influence your parents and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles and siblings or others who can vote, and make sure they know what you think, because for them, it is important to make sure they vote for the right people who can ensure a sustainable future for all of us, including for the next generation.
And coincidentally, this year, when our event starts on 4th June, 12 o'clock, almost a new government will be at the center in India, because the counting begins in the morning, and by 12 o'clock, you have the clear picture who is going to form the government. So it's a very tricky day that day. Also, Tim, I mean, it may not be entirely true, but climate conferences always find fancy venues, fancy resolutions. And do you think we have started getting some fancy outcomes also? It's a long way to go.
So the last climate conference I attended in Dubai is COP28 in November last year. Actually, the majority of people who were there to discuss solutions and not to negotiate. By far more people came to Dubai and met to find the next climate investment they were considering, or collaborate with climate technologies, or to learn about what other governments are doing in other parts of the world, because we've decided that we need to fix this problem. That's been globally agreed. There's a universal agreement with the Paris Accords, and now we have to implement it. So yes, I think we're starting to see more of a shift towards solutions, towards technology like AI, like technology that can help us map and accelerate climate action. And with that, there's of course a shift of investments and a shift of what we call ecopreneurs, people who go into business and they make it their life's mission, not only to earn a living, but to address problems like climate change. And there's more and more of these ecopreneurs, especially young people who go into business and they start businesses to have a purpose in life. So yes, I think there are definitely more solutions we're starting to see come out of the margins of these international meetings.
Okay, that's very optimistic, as usual of you. And I will also summarize what we have been able to do in last 5 years. And when we started, it was the offset of Corona because we couldn't have physical conferences. But we did have a physical conference in cooperation with Pop Movement, which is based in USA. And it was started by Nobel Peace Prize winner, Dr. Rajen Pashori, and his son now leads it. So what we decided that we are going to focus on youth. And as I tell the students also, because we have connection with youth, I'm a school principal as well. So we keep on telling them you can't do something separate, but whatever you do in life, doesn't matter whether you go to whichever profession you go to, whichever entrepreneurs you choose, you make it a part of your life. And that's the only way things can change and move very quickly. And I must thank UNEP, because from the very first event, when we started, when almost nothing was known about the event, we had David Jensen. Then next year, we were happy to have you. We are very grateful. Then Sushan, because when these kids interact with you, I know last year when these kids were the first time interacting, their life has changed. There are 30 odd students in the ECNO club. And their parents also, they think there is something that we can do. This can be followed as a career also. That is our win-win situation. That's why we keep on reaching to people like you and people like from various organizations, because when the kids get to interact with somebody who's devoted entire life, they are at the top of some organizations like UNEP or something like that, and they have a face-to-face conversation, it does make a great impact. So I thank you so much, Tim, and I will be troubling you again until 2030 at least, because that was our initial contact when we started in 2021. And I thank Barminder Mai also. Both are currently on summer vacation. They have taken time out. They're preparing questions and getting ready for your interviews. And they'll be doing some more also with different personalities. So thank you so much. Anything that you want to say, Barminder, quickly enough, because we have 1 minute left. Mahi, and then I'll let Tim have a closing statement. And then
Right. Sir, we are eternally grateful to you for sharing wisdom with us and today having altered not only our realm of conscious thinking, but also our subconscious minds, because now this optimism and the very essence of being an environmentalist has truly been embedded into our subconscious minds as the future of the world. Thank you, sir.
Mahi, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing some of your pearls of wisdom with us. And we're really grateful to have you with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and please keep doing what you do and spread this also to your peers and other students, because it's so important that you are engaged and that we work together. It's not only the responsibility of the next generation, but also of this present generation that is in leadership positions to make the world a better place. But we have to collaborate and work together on it.
Thank you, Tim. We recently got hold of the New Delhi government, and we planted about 2,000 trees in a very central place in Delhi, city like Delhi, because it was used to be a reservoir, and now because of new trees over there. So we hope things like small climate actions with the young students, it will be a great success. I will send you an email asking for me to connect with the girl that generated this hashtag generation tag. Because first year I remember we had Jordan Sanchez live with us also, who composed the UNEP theme song. So it's great to have these young personalities interacting with the even younger personalities. So thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you. And once more, let's hope everything turns green. It will.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And we have Natalia Alexieva, United Nations Environment Program Coordinator for UN Decade on Restoration Systems. And we have Samantha Davalos. She is Specialist in Ecosystem Restoration Program Implementation at the UNEP. Welcome, Natalia. Welcome, Samantha. So great to have you today. And we will show the extended version of Tim's interview in the sessions that follow today. So we're grateful that you have joined. I know how busy UNEP is, especially on World Environment Day, and I know all sorts of correspondence. But you know, why insist? Because there's so many youth and students joining, very young students from all across the world. And your being here on the screen is a great, great motivation. You won't know there are at least dozen kids or 50 kids who have been working day in and day out to prepare for this event, preparing their own speeches, little bits of ideas they have. So welcome, Natalia. Thank you so much again. Welcome, Samantha. I will hand it over to Natalia to make an opening statement and we can get engaged in conversation. I would like some students to put a question to you, maybe what queries they have.
Thank you. I hope you hear me well, just to confirm that the sound goes. Yes, excellent. It's actually my pleasure to speak after Tim because I was also, just to say that I've been taking the job as a coordinator of the UN Decade actually from Tim Christopherson. So I'm happy to see also that he's been already sharing some examples of how the UN Decade work. But let me to start still with a bit of introduction for your younger generation and for some students who are probably not yet aware what we do and what does it mean also for them. So the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration actually was announced by the UN General Assembly. So it's a decision from the all UN member states to restore the ecosystems because of the triple planetary crisis. I mean, we're facing climate change, we're facing biodiversity loss, we're facing pollution issues. That's from environmental side. But of course, we're also facing lots of issues with food security, with livelihoods, etc., etc. And that's why this movement in terms of restoring the earth was coming timely after several UN, but also other scientific reports, which are saying that we're really on the fire, meaning that also for your younger kind of audience, you can look also for the numbers that the temperatures are rising, the kind of extreme events are more and more often. Well, as I said already, biodiversity species are kind of disappearing very quickly, and we're really breaking on certain kind of planetary lines and planetary borders, right? So that's why the restoration movement is not just the UN. Of course, this was announced at the UN General Assembly, but that's a movement of lots of partners, lots of other supporters around the globe. So just to confirm that the essence of the UN Decade is really moving from commitments to the practical activities. So I'm happy also to see the name of the event, Act Now, that exactly it was lots of promises. It was lots of, as I said, lots of figures, lots of promises, lots of discussions, but we need to do something. We cannot really discuss anymore whether it's needed or whether we have to do more or less, whatever. We have to do as much as we can, right? So that's why the UN Decade is really kind of movement, which is of course looking at the restoration, and why I'm also here, why I'm so happy also to be discussing with your younger audience, because restoration takes time. I mean, you cannot really restore and heal the kind of planet in 5 minutes or in 1 year, right? It's a long-term action. That's why youth and younger generation is really one of the key players and one of the key supporters of the action. That's why we need you also to understand the need in terms of restoration, and even beyond the UN Decade. I mean, the UN Decade is running from 2020 till 2030, but definitely we would not be able to restore all the Earth within these 10 years. And the idea is really to capitalize the action and move on with some practical, how to say, kind of activities. So the UN Decade is co-led, as said, within the UN by UNEP, UN Environmental Program, and FAO, which is Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And we got by now more than 260 partners. And these partners are coming from different countries, different regions, different sectors, well, different parts of the society. So that's why I said it's really the movement which is hopefully making the change within these 10 years. And then we have also so-called task forces. It's the idea to have a bit of more focused action on specific elements. And one of the task forces is actually the youth task force, because we believe that the youth action should be also supported and promoted within the UN Decade. And that's why we have this specific task force, which is looking at youth-related activities. And then I would ask Samantha to come a bit later on and bring more examples how this works and what does it do. We have also advisory board, and the team who was speaking before, actually the member of this advisory board. So the idea is to have the guidance and kind of external view also how the UN Decade should be moving, what we should be doing. So that's on the high level, and more in terms of what we do as a UN Decade, because everyone is asking, so what? Like, yes, you have the partners, you have UN, you have all the boards and experts around, so what? We are promoting very practical examples of restoration. That's why we have so-called flagships, which are the best examples of restoration. And these are coming from different locations and different ecosystems. And now we got 17 across the globe, but we just had the new call open till the end of May. So we'll be having also more examples of restoration coming from other ecosystems and other countries. So that's something just to showcase that the restoration is possible, and then you can do it. And in very practical terms, you can promote it, and you can also hopefully, let's say, scale up the activities around. We do also have so-called action plan, and the action plan is really looking at different elements of restoration, right? And for example, we have some activities like on urban ecosystems or on food, on agriculture, whatever. And I'm happy also to say that within the action plan, we have the challenge number 12, which is also focusing on youth. And it's looking more on the training and mentoring youth as restoration practitioners. And then, of course, also working also with school kids, because I see here also a bit of even younger generation who are not yet in the kind of labor market. But the idea also to work more with schoolyards and really kind of promote also restoration, practical restoration activities through different types of youth, school kids, through schools, etc., etc. Of course, we engage also youth and other partners who work also with youth in other activities, for example, on education, because education is a key, because we have to understand exactly why we need to restore and how we do it. But also, for example, on food security, because even like school feeding, all these practical activities on the ground can mean a lot once you restore also your, for example, green areas around once you grow your own food, etc., etc. Of course, we do also quite a lot of advocacy, and I'm happy to say that we have lots of materials and lots of opportunities on our website. So probably I'll just put them to the chat box, the link, or maybe it's Samantha, you can do it. So you can then go there and see what we have there. And of course, also as you indicate, we really contribute to different international events, including also COPs. COPs are the conferences of parties for different conventions. And for example, for this year, I'm really happy to see also the contribution to the World Environment Day, which is actually tomorrow. And the topic is focusing on the land restoration, halting desertification, and building drought resilience. So meaning that it's also part of the UN Decade movement. And even the slogan, which is saying our land, our future, where generation restoration is really looking at how to restore the land and how to bring also this land restoration into the future, meaning that it should be sustainable. This should not be just one-time action. You cannot just plant the tree and forget about this. You have really to take care, you have to invest, you have to promote also the action. Also, in conclusion, just to say that, of course, within the land restoration, I mean, also referring to the World Environment Day, we need lots of knowledge, lots of ambition, and of course, all the generations being involved, right? So that's why looking also at the current audience and also at some other people who may be watching then this event in recording, we really need everyone to be the part of this generation restoration, right? Because we see already the effects of the degradation. We see already how kind of things are really kind of breaking down in many areas, in many ecosystems, in many locations. So that's why we have to take measures to counter this. And we have to be on track to achieve the global goals, including sustainable development goals, where the UN Decade is contributing. So that's why, just to conclude, that also with the World Environment Day this year, we are really the generation which is hopefully making the difference, and which should be also making peace with land. So we're all generation restoration, and then looking forward to the discussion. And as said, I will just pass over the floor to Samantha, who is actually now a youth UN Nations volunteer who is supporting the UN Decade. That's why I wanted also her to speak on behalf of youth and on behalf of different generation, which is also restoring the earth. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Natalia. Yes, hello everybody, really happy to be here. I'm gonna, as Rajiv and Natalia said, I'm Samantha Davalos, I'm from Mexico, and I'm now working as a UN volunteer in the UN Decade, working with ecosystem restoration. But today I want to talk to you about a bit more about youth and how youth is engaged and involved in the UN Decade, and why it's so important to involve youth generations for this work. Not just for the UN Decade, but in general for like all the restoration movement, the generation restoration movement, and in everything related to climate change and biodiversity loss and the triple crisis that Tim was mentioning before. So yeah, as Natalia mentioned, in the UN Decade, we have a youth task force, which was established specifically as an advisory and consultative mechanism to exactly involve the youth generation, youth people in all the UN Decade matters and activities. So the idea is to really bring the youth into the movement and into the work that we are doing, to take them into account and to also see what are their concerns and how they can support to this work. So it's mainly focused on different topics. One of it is policy and advocacy, as Natalia said. So it's really, as I said, trying to bring them to general or like formal avenues of the UN to hear their voices and to hear what they think, and to also get engaged in all these movements, because this is something that the youth will be the next generation, so they will need to be aware of how everything is going on. And to also provide inputs to some governance and policies that we are like doing, again, to try to involve them as much as possible. Another part is youth action. So we are trying to really bring youth people into the movement, so to promote and to bring like a platform that can promote them to engage with different restoration projects, for example, and to showcase different actions and to have like innovative and effective actions to address different needs depending on the region that they are based on. But of course, we want to focus on ecosystem restoration. But again, it's like trying to make like a movement that can create different activities where youth can be involved and that can tackle the necessities that different people have in different regions, because it's not the same for all regions. So of course, in every country, there will be different needs. So the idea is like to really engage them and make them as, we could say, like change makers in their places. It's also the idea of the youth task force like to be a place for discussion. So like they can give their voice of the thoughts, what do they think is needed, and how do they feel like this should be managed. But also, as Natalia said, also a lot of knowledge and capacity building. So it's also to try to promote and facilitate new training opportunities for the future, so that they can also be inserted later in their careers in this section of the restoration aspect. Specifically, as Natalia said, we have the action plan, and Jude is involved in several of these aspects. So she mentioned already kind of like working in education, so trying to promote education of restoration at different levels. Food, again, as she mentioned already, it's trying to create this movement to create new ways of having food security in different parts of the world with different techniques. And there is specifically one main of Jude, which is mainly training capacity. But we also well, I just wanted to mention like the youth task force is like really this way that we are trying to involve youth as much as possible and connect them with different partners so that they can start to be involved into this movement, which is, as Natalia said, is finishing in 2030. But the idea is that this movement continues like in the long term. So like generation restoration, the idea is that it can continue, just not stop in this 10 years, so that really like the movement continues and can be like a self-sustainable in the long term, because we need it really to continue taking action for all these things, because as Natalia and Tim probably said already, this is not going to be something that we can restore, like all the things that we need to restore in 5-6 years. So this is going to be like a long-term action or movement that we need to have. I wanted to say like now the youth task force is actually recruiting or searching for new members. So maybe if some of the ones that are here, like I see a lot of really young people, which is really nice. But I mean, like I'm gonna share here like the application form, because they are now recruiting for new members. So if some of you are interested to take a look at what they are doing, I will also share the page of the youth task force. And you will be interested to get involved, maybe you can apply and of course be a bit more engaged in the UN Decade aspect. So I also wanted to talk about some other individual actions that you could take, like try to support ecosystem restoration in different aspects. So as Natalia said, there's already the World Environment Day, and there are like a lot of events all around the globe, and maybe some of you could take a look, and if there's something close to your place you would like to contribute, you could of course support like voluntarily. And there's also like a week, Make a Difference Week, which is supported or managed by Society Ecosystem Restoration, where they post also a lot of movements like for a whole week. And the idea of this movement or like these sections is like really like a specific action. Sometimes they go clean some areas, or like different organizations just post events there, and they are trying to get people from all around the world that come and help them. So this can be also a good way of you to to engage with restoration projects, because what I wanted to mention is like something that maybe you could start doing as individual actions also is try to search like maybe some organizations, NGO projects working around your area, and try to get in touch and volunteer there. Usually that's like a good starting point, because you can get to know like what they are doing, what are the needs, and also like you can really start making this action and maybe trying to promote them with your friends, with your colleagues, or maybe even if there's like in your school, you could try to start making some events. So for example, I don't know, you could say with your classmates, let's go clean this river or the neighborhood or something like that. So these are small actions, but as Tim said, like every action counts, and it's never like too late or too early to start like thinking on this. So I wanted to mention that. And of course, also as Tim was mentioning before, like there's the generation restoration hashtag. And as he said, I think it's also really valuable just to share like in social media, every action that you're doing and tagging like with generation restoration, so that more people really get to know the movement and get involved and try to like just like know what everybody's doing around the globe. I think that's also like really motivating for other people to start doing it, right? Like, so like if someone starts this movement and some colleagues see it, maybe they will be also engaged to do some kind of this action. So these are also like some small individual actions that you could do. And of course, like just like in your personal and daily lives, you could take small actions to try to reduce your impact into the world. Maybe like, I don't know, like just try to consume or like try to make less garbage, just small aspects. I mean, like every action counts, and even just these small actions, maybe like try to take quicker showers, right? So you don't spend that much water. So these small things, even if they are small and they seem small, at the end they all count if we are doing it together. So I just wanted to say a bit more on that. Well, it would be really nice if some of you would like to apply to the youth task force. And of course, just like in general, also I wanted to let you know, there's also like, this one is for the UN decade specifically, but UNEP has also a youth group, children and youth major group. So you could also try or check, I'm gonna also share the link here, and you could also check it in case you're interested, if you would like to check, because they are always open to receive or to have new people in the group. So if you are interested, feel free to check it and get in touch. This is for all UNEP in general. So yeah, it was just kind of like that from my side. But happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you so much. And because there are so many youth and you already offered an opportunity which can engage youth at UNEP level. And I know there are a lot of climate activists, very young ones who started their career way back, and they are doing some very fantastic work throughout the world. In fact, because you have worked to Plan for the Planet, so I have known Felix when he was in class 4, very young when we met in Finland such long years ago. And we know the kind of work that he does. And we have done some work for Plan for the Planet also in Philippines, especially when it was devastated by Haiyan. That was the worst tragedy to happen to Philippines. I also have Kaya Saramaki. Hello, Kaya, can you hear me? She is currently the chairman of the NO School Net Association Environment Online Program that started in Finland in 2000, and that is how we have such big network also in more than 150 countries. Bika Vananan founded it, and he will be with us at 3:30 Indian time today. Welcome, Kaya. Do you have any words to say? Then I'll open the floor to students to ask some questions, because we have some very important guests, you, Natalia, and Samantha, and it is for the students to ask you questions. Kaya.
Okay, yes, I can hear you, Rajiv. Thank you very much, and thank you for the short introduction as well. First of all, I would like to express also my appreciation to Rajiv and JK and your colleagues for organizing this event. It's very important that we share any ideas and concerns and hopes for a better future, and also it's very important to bring together the ACNA community, the NO community, and all the other people and different communities and organizations that are concerned for the environment. And this year's theme, Tomorrow Never Comes, Act Now, is very appropriate. Also that we need to act act on behalf or for our environment, and also we need to do things together. So by acting together, we can actually make tomorrow come. If we want to go directly into the questions, that's fine. But maybe just very shortly, if any of the participants here in this session are not too familiar with ENO Schoolnet Association. So we are a network of schools and communities focusing on environmental education and sustainable development. And we work on engaging communities, whether they are schools or other kind of communities, in action for the environment. And we have so many active schools, educators, students, as well as other organizations acting for the environment within our campaigns. And we have different kind of campaigns for schools, especially for schools. The longest running campaign is the tree planting, like Rajiv mentioned, that we have been planting trees for 20 years already. We also have different campaigns on weather and using arts as a medium for environmental awareness about energy, water, waste, and so on. And also we have the Zero Carbon Conference for high schools, vocational school, and university students each year. It's co-organized with Karelia University of Applied Sciences and Nagano Prefectural Government in Japan, Karelia University of Applied Sciences here in Finland, and also other organizations. The other organizations vary year by year. In the last one, we had universities from Chile and from Zambia. And also a very important part of our activities or organization is our ENO country coordinators, Rajiv, for example. And I was just checking the list of participants. There are a number of our other coordinators also in this session as well. So they are spreading awareness of our activities. If there isn't a country coordinator from your specific country yet, it's possible to apply. The country coordinator period is from 2024 to 2026, so 3 years. So if we don't have a representative from your countries, we can still appoint coordinators for those countries. But my colleague will be telling a little bit more about the activities towards the end of the 24-hour event. But I think that's enough as a short introduction to ENO. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaya. Thank you so much. And we have some minutes before we head to Tuomo Koranen, who's waiting in Finland. He's the CEO of Argonaut. So now I'll get some students who might be interested in asking questions, because Barminder is studying at the Modern School ECNCR in Delhi, and she is one great heck of a young climate activist turning into a new one. So Barminder, do you have any questions for Natalia or Samantha or Kaya?
Yes, sir. So greetings, Samantha, Natalia, and Kaija, ma'am. It's such an honor to have you here with us today. So as we know, the United Nations Environment Programme and the UN Decade on Restoration works closely with youth. And again, ENO Schoolnet Association is once again spotlighting youth, especially in the environment sector. And as we know, today's generation is such a big cyber generation, and it is highly dependent on social media and devices. So how do you think this age of digitalization is positively impacting the environment? And how can we as youth participants try to use social media for the better to combat climate change? Please feel to answer the question.
Okay, who will start?
Oh, please, any or every one of you. I'd like
Okay.
to answers.
Yeah, I can go after Natalia, maybe. Yeah, Natalia is muted at the moment.
Yeah, she's muted.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, because I muted myself because of some noise. We have the office construction, but now I was not able to unmute myself. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, indeed, with all these digital developments, but also with artificial intelligence, it's a lot of discussion how we go into this new future, right? Because for the older generation, lots of things were more on the traditional side, and something which is more, let's say, conventional. And now with all these new developments and new technologies, I would say there are pros and cons. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, on the positive side, of course, it's much easier to mobilize young people around the globe, like even today now through Zoom, right? We don't have to travel. We don't have to come for the visas and our passports or whatever, pay money for flying and also having GHG emissions while flying, right? We're all online and we're able to speak, we're able to exchange. And again, this recording also can be shared with lots of other people who hopefully would be interested and who can also join and contribute and somehow see how to take the action, right? But also on the kind of less positive side, we saw also youth maybe sometimes is less involved into the kind of restoration action on the ground because exactly they're looking for more like high-tech technologies, for something more related to computers or this artificial intelligence, etc., right? So that's why probably my call would be for the youth not to ignore the nature, not to ignore some very simple practical activities. As Samantha was saying, you can do a lot. In addition, just to, of course, learning new kind of digital tools. And again, the digital tools can be also a very nice way of you to learn something new, having these online trainings, for example, all types of applications which are also bringing you all the new information, all the new knowledge, right? But we're still asking you to act on the ground and do something else than just watching YouTube and exchanging with your colleagues and chatting in some other application. Thanks.
Next, we have Arya. Do you have a question? Arya is a technical head. I mean, student technical head. He does all the background pulling biodata and all the postings that you have been seeing on the social media. These two have been doing it. So pulling up profiles from various corners and just trying to digitize it, put a footprint on social media. So Arya, do you have any questions for Natalia or anyone else?
Yes, I do. Greetings,
To
ma'am.
who?
You have mentioned, maybe Natalia ma'am can answer that, or even Samantha ma'am.
Okay.
I have regarding the UN or the UN. Yeah, so greetings, ma'am. You have mentioned the 3 planetary crises. About that, I would like to ask that do we have a plan or like a step-by-step work through which we are guaranteed to have results with for like the environment as a whole? Because we are fixed in a situation where local or small-scale acts would not be able to help the broader challenge that we face. And we need more initiatives like the one we are a part of now. And how do the UN plan to globalize these implementations?
Thank you, Arya, for asking. I will start and then probably ask Samantha to contribute. Yes, there are certainly high-level plans. For example, as I was referring to the conferences of parties under the conventions, we as UN decade working mainly with so-called Rio conventions, which are working on climate change, desertification, land degradation, and then also biodiversity. And under all these conventions, there are high-level plans on the global level, but there are also the national plans when they ask also the governments to come with their proposal how to scale up the action on the national level, what they can do. So these are so-called NBSAPs, for example, National Biodiversity Action Plans, or NDCs, National Determined Contributions, etc. Right? So meaning that you have something on the higher level, meaning the global level commitments under the conventions, and then the national plans. But then exactly your local action and your practical contribution from the ground should be, of course, helping all these high-level commitments and plans to reach their aims and objectives. Because otherwise, if it's just on the global level or national level and nobody is doing anything in the village or in the town they live, whatever, it's broken. I mean, it's not reaching the practical level, and then people are not engaged. So we need the engagement, and we need also understanding also on the local level why these high-level commitments and all these plans, whatever, are made for. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you so much. And we have, of course, you are very busy. I would appreciate if you could stay on as much as possible because there are so many students who want to ask questions from you with Samantha. But maybe on another day we can organize when you are bit free, you can organize a session with the students so that you can address all the queries. We have Tuomo Koronen, who is the CEO of Arbonaut. He will tell you what he does, but obviously he's one of the few companies in the world that started remote sensing technology for estimating forest resource, and it's a very technical thing that that the company does. But we're very happy to have him for so many years with us. And Tuomo, welcome to this program once again. And I must tell you that we'll be followed by Tomoko Fujiwara, who is leading a great initiative of Net Zero in Japan, working with the Japanese government, currently heading the Nagano Prefecture. So Tuomo, you're most welcome in this event. Thank you so much for being here. And I would give you your 10 minutes, then if you can stay on, maybe some students will have questions for you. So Tuomo, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Rajiv. I'm very happy to be here. And despite a lot of busy schedules like many others, I'm happy to have this slot. I feel a bit, almost embarrassed to see so many young faces over here. I'm turning 67 myself soon, and I kind of feel that I may not easily be an inspiration to young people. But then again, I was just recently contacted by my classmates from high school, and we are going to have a class reunion next summer, the first one in 48 years. So all of a sudden you realize that actually your life is pretty much defined at high school age. You decide what you want to do when you grow up, what kind of things are of interest to you. You move beyond, let's say, pop culture and hobbies and friends into kind of thinking what might be your role in the universe. What would be the kind of thing that you could passionately dedicate your working life on? And that's exactly why I think that this is a very suitable occasion to do that. That high school incident reminded me that I was guided to become a mathematician by my high school mathematics teacher, a really powerful lady who somehow, able to somehow convince us, the whole classroom, that mathematics is something beautiful, something important, something that can be deployed in a lot of different kind of disciplines. And after a lot of trials on different fields, I used to work in weather and climate at the European Weather Center in Reading for a while, and with supercomputers, I came back to my native North Karelia province here in Finland, which is very forested. And soon it became evident that what we should be doing here is forest information, and especially correct, precise forest information to help climate, to help nature, to help people do the right decisions on this. And I'm happy to see Kaya and others here, who are hail from the same region, that we have somehow become almost synonymous to forest knowledge here in this part of the world. And so this is what Arbonaut does. Arbonaut for the last 20 years has been using remote sensing, especially airborne laser scanning, but also satellite imagery and drones occasionally, to build up as accurate, single tree level accurate image of forests all over the world. We operate in about 40 countries at any given time. Right now, we don't have any activities in India, but as this conference shows, we've been trying quite a bit. And we are active in almost all the neighboring countries. We've done forest inventory in Bhutan, in Nepal, in Pakistan. I employ also a lot of people from the region. I have several Indian employees, but even more Nepalese. And just this summer, we have started with 3 Sri Lankan employees. So you realize that this skill of knowing about forests and being able to bring forest information up to date does not depend on your background. Actually, it's beneficial if you have a different kind of background. Arbonaut employs about 80 people at the moment, and they hail from 20 different nationalities at any given time. We have a lot of trainees, so sometimes those nationalities vary. But we take on people precisely because they can tell us about the role that forests play in their home country. And this is indeed quite different in different countries. It's quite different in Zambia. It's quite different in Bhutan, with very beautiful forests, or in Laos, Cambodia. They're all places where we are active in addition to Europe and the northern countries. And yes, also Canada and the US nowadays. So for us, the most important thing is to see forest as part of the earth, that they are an ecosystem in their own right. They are an economic resource for many human beings, but they also the living environment and the livelihood of many people, especially indigenous people, in a lot of places. We have our own Sami people up in the north in Finland who are reindeer herders, and that has become a business to them. When I discussed with Canadian firefighters last year, they told about the Quitchin in the Yukon province, which is next to Alaska, but on the Canadian side. They actually deliberately burn 300,000 to 500,000 hectares of forest every year to regenerate the forest, to allow deer and fresh plants to grow, to wolves and bears to come and for them to harvest, and also fish and so on. So forests are a dynamic system that lives along with us, and we should always be mindful of that. And now, if the youth doesn't somehow get this mindset, and I think children, by their very nature, they live with animals, they live with plants and creatures, they see everything as living. It's only later on in professional life, if you end up being an engineer or a banker, that okay, it's a resource, I need to make money out of it. It's also true, but it has to be mitigated by this human ecological mindset that we want to live in peace with our forests. We want to treat them with respect, and they are happy maybe to give us the yield we need for paper production or construction of wooden buildings and so on. So this is what Argonaut is about, and I wish you all sympathy to the kind of things. And also, if you're ever ambitious about understanding how remote sensing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, it all comes together. And my own background is very much in that domain, that I started as a mathematician playing with supercomputers, and nowadays those supercomputers are actually accessible to you all. Then there's a possibility that you can also contribute to this practical information and detailed information. And this is what we need to make climate financing work. So this is where I link with the previous speakers about the importance of accurate and objective information about the state of forest. That's the only way we can have both biodiversity and carbon capture to be financially credible instruments, and thereby use the willingness of most of the world's people, I would say, to finance this kind of good things. So we are the measurement takers and try to make it as reliable as possible so as to facilitate money coming to restore ecosystems, to maintain respect for forests, not just as fallen or felled trees, but also like a living organism. So with this, I'll conclude now, and I'm happy to answer a few questions if you have any. Thank you very much, Rajiv, and everyone.
Thank you, Tuma. Thank you so much for taking time off your very, very busy schedule, I know. And of course, I'm going to bug you for helping us in some climate action that these students can do with very young students in India, because you have presence in India, Nepal, and last year were Kaza. And there's a happy news also. You have just recruited some Sri Lankans, and we had a request from Shinani, who was just joined Argonaut. So she was very happy. She filled out the form and she said she wanted to participate, and she said the profile of Argonaut. I said, oh, Tuomo is going to be there. So she was like, wow. So we're having it tomorrow morning. So it's a great thing that you started way back when nothing existed about digital sensing of forest assets. And the student must know that Finland forestry is a very, very organized sector. And we are also tied up with Resto, and the Crother Lab is part of our events also. And we're very happy for them and for us also, because we are able to access technology that you generally cannot if you don't have money. So any students you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. I think lots of them are there. I'll put up Jagrati Singh. Can you please introduce a bit in 2 seconds? Is ask Tuomo. Don't ask if you want to join his company in Finland.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Jagrati Singh. I'm a 12th grader in the modern school ECNCR. and I'm also the captain activity at school, and I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to be here and ask you my query. So, sir, my question is related to recent news, which shows us what issues are being faced by people all over the world. And it is quite a shock that there have been 11,984 fire alerts in India alone. So, you can imagine that the world must be facing a lot of wildfires. Even the ocean's level are rising and global warming concentration upgrades. The root problem to all of this is climate change. What steps do you think us children, the youth, could take to cool down this issue on our side? Because to make the world hear our voices, we need to work on our side first. So, sir, if you could just brief us with it.
It's of course a very big question and a very difficult one, but I'm happy that you addressed it. I think it all starts from your own neighborhood, on your own actions. Get rid of plastic and try to replace that with let's say wood-based products. That's certainly one good way to start locally. It's I mean, even if we have to fell trees in order to produce paper cups and so on, they decay in nature naturally, and that allows and helps us to keep the fossil fuels in the ground. So I think that is one good way. The other one is what, for example, the tree planting project promotes is to plant trees, and that would be better carried out if you have some kind of a context, such as the tree planting activity by schools that records it and puts it on the internet, also to inspire young people to do likewise elsewhere. So those two things to me seem to be like good practical things to start.
Anyone else? I think I have Sambhavi. Put her on the screen. Sambhavi, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I am Shambhavi Chaudhary. I am a student of class 8 from Springfields, New Moradabad, and I feel truly contented to be here and to be able to talk to you today. So my question for you is that what action can we as students take which will have a positive impact on the nature and our environment?
Well, yes, since you introduced yourself as a student, as did the previous speaker, the obvious thing you need to do at school is to learn natural science and geophysics, biology, all of it. I sometimes jokingly say that the most important things you need to study in high school is geography and history, because that gives you the human context. But yes, we should have different disciplines of what scientists call geophysics. It's basically the study of nature as a system, as an ecosystem, as a hydrological system. Much of what we do is related to how water circulates in trees and in the ground and in the atmosphere. So please dedicate yourself to these studies, and all of a sudden you realize that in a few years you will be able to help and contribute because you understand this is how it works, and this is how you then can identify the places where you can make some action.
Thank you, Sambhavi. And if Tuomo has a bit of time, then I would want you to see a video that is generated by, not exactly the video, but the lyrics and the composition is generated by AI. And that's a theme song for this year's conference. So may I request JK sir to play that video track V1.
Okay, I'll watch the video. Then I have to pull out for a while, but I may be able to join briefly afterwards, just watching you. Yeah. Thank you.
V1, sir?
Yes.
In a world so big, we often feel small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand we're the future. We hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. Through the power of knowledge, we're lighting minds, spreading the message, one student at a time. From mountains to oceans, we'll protect the land. With that now, united we'll make a stand. We'll make a stand. In a world so big, we're small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand we're the future. We hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah.
So I showed this one to you because we have used a lot of AI in this one, and the lyrics were generated after the keywords were given, and in fact the entire song was composed by AI itself. We did not have money enough to subscription for the video, so we had to do it our own. So I know you are very busy and you have other meetings also lined up. So thank you, Tomo, so much for being here today. And I will be in touch with you. I'm always in touch with you anyway. And we're looking forward to meeting in Finland sometime with a group of students. Maybe you can invite some students to visit Argonaut and they can get to know better. I remember we visited, I think, 2002 or 2006.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Rajiv, and hear more from Shehani when she joins you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Tomo, so much. We will be joined by Tomoko Fujiwara, who is the initiator of Net Zero Conference in working with the Japanese government. She is currently the head of Nagano Prefectural Government in Japan. We are waiting for her. Meanwhile, we have some messages from UNEP, United Nations. Can I request JK sir to play the UN Chief Antonio Guterres message, which is track B12, and then we have a message from Inger Anderson, that's the United Nations Environment Program Chief. So we can play V1 and V11 and V12 together.
The theme of this year's World Environment Day is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. Humanity depends on land. Yet, all over the world, a toxic cocktail of pollution, climate chaos, and biodiversity decimation are turning healthy lands into deserts and thriving ecosystems into dead zones. They are annihilating forests and grasslands and sapping the strength of land to support ecosystems, agriculture, and communities. That means crops failing, water sources vanishing, economies weakened, and communities endangered, with the poorest hit hardest. Sustainable development is suffering, and we are trapped in a deadly cycle. Land use is responsible for 11% of the carbon dioxide emissions heating our planet. It's time to break free. Countries must deliver on all their commitments to restore degraded ecosystems and land, and on the entire Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. They must use their new national climate action plans to set out how they will halt and reverse deforestation by 2030, and we must drastically scale up finance to support developing countries to adapt to violent weather, protect nature, and support sustainable development. Inaction is too costly. But swift and effective action makes economic sense. Every dollar invested in ecosystem restoration creates up to $30 in economic benefits. We are Generation Restoration. Together, let's build a sustainable future for land and for humanity.
this World Environment Day, we're asking everyone to join the global movement to restore our lands, to build drought resilience, and to combat desertification. Because land degradation and desertification affect over 3 billion people. Freshwater ecosystems are also degraded, making it harder to grow crops and to raise livestock. This disproportionately affects smallholder farmers and, of course, the rural poor. But nature is resilient. By restoring ecosystem, we can slow the triple planetary crisis, the crisis of climate change, the crisis of nature and biodiversity loss, including desertification, and of course, the crisis of pollution and waste. We can help to reverse biodiversity loss by 2030 in line with the global biodiversity framework. And we can get closer to keeping the global temperatures in line with the Paris Agreement by increasing carbon storage, including in the peatlands. And we can reduce poverty and food insecurity in line with the SDGs. Work has begun. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration is backing commitments to restore 1 billion hectares of land, an area larger than China. Last year, 6 countries pledged to restore 300,000 kilometers of rivers and 350 million hectares of wetlands. At the 6th United Nations Environment Assembly in February, nations agreed to strengthen sustainable land management. And later this year, the 3 Rio Conventions, the one on climate, the one on biodiversity, and the one on desertification, are each holding a conference of party, or COP, to push further the ambitions of these conventions. Land restorations can be a golden thread that ties together action and ambition across all these 3 important gatherings. So we must make this work count. I thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting World Environment Day 2024. On this important day, I ask everyone to join Generation Restoration. Our land is our future, and we must protect it.
To play this very interesting video, very small girl. We'll play the video, then I think Tomoko is here, already joined in the session. We will go over to Tomoko. Can you play this track V10?
Let's see what we can do, save the planet for me and you. Let's see what we can do, save the planet for me and you. Your trash into the right bin. T is for traveling every day. Leave the car and rather walk this way. Na 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 na. Let's see
afternoon, Tomoko, and good evening in Japan. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good evening from Japan. I'm Tomoko Fujiwara from Nagano Prefecture.
I welcome Tomoko again, and she is very tight on her schedule, so we've been trying to coordinate to get her into this one. And she was last year with us also, and she is also working in Environment Online project, and we are doing something on net zero. So she studied environmental sciences and forest science in University and Graduate School and joined Nagano Prefectural Government in 2016. She joined the Environmental Policy Division in 2021, and she is the coordinator for Sustainable Nagano Cross Creation Platform. It's a public-private partnership platform to achieve 2050 carbon neutrality. So welcome, Tomoko. I know you are very short on time, so I'll go straight to you, and maybe you can let these young kids, very young kids and students and youth across the world know what we are involved with and how they can contribute, how they can be part of this one, what you do. Tomoko.
Thank you, Rajib. Can you give me a permission to share my screen?
Yes.
Rajib, thank you so much for having me today. And hi, everyone. Good evening from Japan. My name is Tomoko Fujiwara, and as Rajib introduced me, I'm working at the Environmental Policy Department at Nagano Prefecture, Japan. So still, I can't share my screen.
Are you able to share?
Now
Yes,
I
now
can.
you can.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So anyway, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our initiatives and exchange our opinions. So first, have you ever heard of Nagano Prefecture? I guess you have, Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto. Nagano is located in the heart of Japan, right here. Oops. Someone
Just
stopped
hold on a second. Just hold on a second. Okay, now.
Okay.
I'm sorry I had to go through once more.
Okay. I think it's ready. So Nagano is located in the heart of Japan, like here, the red one. And it takes 1.5 hours from Tokyo by bullet train. So it's close from Tokyo. Okay. Since ancient times, we Japanese have benefited greatly from the rich natural environment of the 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And especially Nagano Prefecture is known through the world as the host of the 1998 Winter Olympics and Paralympics. Is covered by forests, approximately 80% of the prefecture. And we have 5 national parks and 78 ski resorts and approximately 100,000 farm households. There was an event that strengthened our determination to further enhance and accelerate our response to the climate crisis. In 2019, Super Typhoon Hagibis attacked Japan and caused tremendous disasters, like the photo. Nagano was affected by the breach of embankment of Chikuma River the longest river in Japan, which caused flooding and landslides, as well damage to over 9,000 houses. The total damage reached $1.8 billion, which exceed our annual tax revenue. After this typhoon, we were the first prefecture in Japan to declare a climate emergency and resolved to go zero carbon by 2050. Based on this declaration, we formulated the Nagano Prefecture Zero Carbon Strategy in 2021. We set the midterm target to reduce 60% of greenhouse gases by 2030 compared to 2010, which largely exceeds Japan's NDC. According to a survey on the 47 prefectures initiatives for decarbonization by WWF Japan, Nagano was evaluated as one of the top prefectures in the overall category. Reducing greenhouse gases by 60% by 2030 cannot be achieved by just setting ambitious target. On November 22nd of last year, we formulated a roadmap to show specific targets for the residents, such as 100,000 electric vehicles and 220,000 rooftops with solar panel installation. It is a significant challenge, but we can achieve these targets as long as we can accomplish this roadmap. We are working on a pioneering initiatives in Japan, and we emphasize not only voluntary efforts by the residents and businesses, but the prefecture government's initiatives to create systems and business models. Regarding the spread of renewable energy, we created the Shinshu, which means Nagano, rooftop solar potential map. The map area covered is the largest scale in the world for municipality. We also grant subsidized for rooftop solar generators and developed a joint purchase system to advance solar power generation. We also manage hydraulic plants by utilizing abundant water resources in Nagano Prefecture. The plant generates 420 gigawatt-hour for about 116,000 households. The electricity is also supplied to companies in Nagano, contributing to decarbonization. The important thing is to create energy self-reliant communities in each region by taking advantage of local resources such as water and solar power in Nagano. For achieving the milestones by 2030, efforts by local governments alone are difficult. Therefore, we need to share the targets with various stakeholders and work together. As one of our efforts, as Raj introduced, we set up Class Shifto Shinshu, in English, Sustainable Nagano Cost Creation Platform, in January 2023 as a base to advance these zero carbon initiatives and to expand our activities. In March 2024, we held a conference which brought together over 100 people from various stakeholders, which means from companies and municipal governments and students. And we could discuss face-to-face and in the conference. Here, case studies are, we discussed it. We had discussed various topics such as creation of energy independent communities and how to spread the rooftop solar panels and initiatives that close sports and art with zero carbon initiatives. The climate change is a global challenge. It is necessary to share efforts and accelerate each other's activities beyond national boundaries, like this up to now. And it is important to learn from and connect with the next generation who will lead our society in 2050. And in 2022, the first International Zero Carbon Conference for students was held online in collaboration with Nagano Prefecture, Japan, and North Korea, Finland, with over 1,000 participants. And we had the second conference in 2023. So to close the gap between our aims and implementation, we would like to hear from speakers today and learn about advanced initiatives throughout international networks. So today's opportunity is extremely precious and we are very grateful. Thank you very much for listening, and please feel free to contact me if you are interested in our initiatives in Nagano, Japan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomoko, so much. And we already been in touch with you through our ENLO Finland Association because we have been doing our conferences together, Zero Net Zero Carbon Conference. And I'm sure we'll be getting students and our organizations from India also joining the same one. So we're looking forward to being with you. And we're also looking forward to your being with us whenever we can. So I know that you are very, very short on your time. And if you can stay on, please do so, because we have some great days coming throughout next 20 hours, literally 22 hours. And anything we can do to tie up with you and anything that the students can do in order to initiate further your initiations, we'll be very happy to do so. So for the students, we would want you to stay back because in just about 18 minutes, we'll be joined by Carl Stina Eriksson, who is the CEO of Climate Call, which makes very fantastic games on climate and environmental things. So he's a very interesting speaker. We would want Tomoko to see some videos if they can stay on. And at least one video, we had the message from Penny's president, Tarja Halonen, who has been a great supporter of our events way back in 2020 when we started the first edition of this conference. So can I request JK sir to play Tarja Halonen's message, V28?
Personal message from President Tarja Halonen for Environment Online India. I have been following the inspiring work of ENO for a long time, and now at this critical moment, this work of yours is needed more than ever. Climate change and unprecedented loss of biodiversity will have profound consequences to life on Earth, livelihood, food security, health, economies and societies at large. Zoonotic diseases such as COVID-19 are closely interlinked with the health of ecosystems and represent just one example of these dire consequences. However, it is not yet too late to reverse this. Today, on the International Day for Peace, I want to honor your work. From planting trees around the world, over 30 million of them, to spreading awareness on sustainable development and climate change, you continue to inspire and make a difference. Reforestation represents an important solution to combat desertification, biodiversity loss as well as climate change. Keep up this important work. Transformative change is only possible when we work together. Warm regards, Tarja Halonen.
also request you to play Foreign Minister of Finland, the then Foreign Minister of Finland, Pekka Haavisto's message in the very first event.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Helsinki, Finland. My name is Pekka Haavisto and I'm the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate Environment Online ENO on its 20th anniversary today on the International Peace Day. The theme for this year's online event is Peace is Green. This highlights the links between sustainable global development and peace. What we see increasingly today is the intensification and creation of conflicts due to changes in the environment. Climate change is happening around us, and already in some parts of the planet, people are forced to move due to the severe changes in their living environment. This movement can cause friction that carries the unfortunate potential for conflict. With sustainable solutions that are sensitive to both the environment and the people, I believe we can find ways to both affect climate change and create basis for coexistence in the future. Conflicts can be resolved through sustainable means that also take into account the environment. We might even see in the future green peace agreements. This will take time and we have a long way ahead of us, but we must remain steadfast and optimistic. The United Nations remains a great international champion to the idea of a sustainable and more peaceful world, and Finland supports proudly the initiatives of the UN. This year, we have found ourselves across the globe facing an unexpected and dramatic challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic. The effect this has had on our actions and our thinking is undeniable. Still, we need to remember to look forward and keep acting for a better future. Despite the extraordinary measures we now take to combat the pandemic, the long-term needs of the environment require our attention. This work, especially regarding environmental education, must continue. Environment Online has successfully promoted this education for 20 years now, and we can see the message of sustainable living rising to the forefront all over. When I see the figures from the ENO network's activities from the past 20 years, it paints a significant picture. 10,000 schools have participated in the activities from more than 150 countries worldwide. This is a testament to the important work continuing today. This online event is a great example of global experience, sharing and being inspired by other people. Over 100 countries in all time zones are expected to participate in this 24-hour web event. I wish you all courage and inspiration in your work for a better and more sustainable planet. Together we can make this a reality. Once more, I would like to congratulate ENO on its 20th anniversary and ENO India for organizing this year's event. I wish you a thought-provoking online event. Thank you.
Thank you, JK sir. We now have Mr. Carl Sturner Isaksson joining from Finland. Let me put him on the screen. Hello, Carl.
Hello, happy to be here.
Yeah, we are happy to see you. I know there are a lot of students who will be putting a lot of questions because you will be going to present something that interests them a lot. So,
yeah, I hope so.
Carl is a climate call specialist and he specializes in game-based research communications with a focus on climate and sustainability. His aim is to provide teachers and students with educational material, turning classes on climate and sustainability into something which is fun, engaging, and graspable for all. So in about 5 to 7 minutes, we will start a session. But Carl, before that, I would want to show you a theme song that we compose using AI, both for lyrics and music composition. And it's a fantastic song. It also shows some of the climate actions taken by our students, very young students. And there are a number of students from various schools which are joining this conference today. And the most stunning session is going to be tonight from 10 o'clock Indian time to 3 o'clock in the morning Indian time, when we'll be hearing this very young student putting up their bits and pieces of their mind. And can I request JK sir to play this video track? Also, I must announce that today, whenever we go to environmental crisis, climate warming, there's a lot of always very stories which are very despairing. It puts you into a lot of confusion. But not everything is bad enough. There are also signs of hope. So this evening, UNEP is premiering a video called Kiss of Grass and Kiss the Ground around 7 o'clock Indian time. And we will show the trailer of it at the same time, 7 Indian time here. So can I request JK sir to play track V1, the theme song?
In a world so big, we often feel small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. Through the power of knowledge, we're lighting minds, spreading the message, one student at a time. From mountains to oceans, we'll protect the land. With that now, united we'll make a stand. We'll make a stand. In a world so big, we're small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah. Through the power of knowledge, we're lighting minds, spreading the message, one student at a time. From mountains to oceans, we'll protect the land. With that now, united we'll make a stand. We'll make a stand. In a world so big, we're small, but together we can make a difference, standing tall. With every step we take, we're creating change, and now's the voice that echoes through the range. Rise up, let's make a stand for the earth and all its wonders. Hand in hand with the future, we hold the key. Together we can save the world, you and me. Ooh, yeah.
Thank you, JK sir. Thank you so much. So welcome, Carl, once again. And I know we have been trying to translate to these youth that no matter what you do in life, climate, sustainability, environmental awareness has to be at the core of your heart. And we also know the greatest, one of the greatest young climate activists, Greta Thunberg, being a Swedish, and what it means, what it meant for the young generation to come forward and take up climate call for the entire globe, and call that the global leaders couldn't do that. So I'll hand over to Carl now, and I expect the student to be putting a lot of questions because it's something that will interest you. I think Carl will make a presentation and there's the instruction video how to use his games. So whichever way you want to go, Carl, the platform is yours. So next 34 minutes.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll start by presenting myself a little bit. So my name is Carl, even though I go by Kalle in Sweden, where I live. And I work on this game-based approach of research communication. But I have a background also in filmmaking and writing. So I found this new way through this gamification of science to get some meaning of my creativity and what I like to dedicate my time to. So I'll start by sharing screen here. Okay, so I can't share screen, it says. Okay, now I can.
Just a second. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so can you see my presentation here from...
Yes.
Good. And start the presentation. So yeah, so Climate Call is our English name. In Swedish, it's Klimatkod. And we work on this game and on the idea of trying to make discussions of climate and sustainability into something fun and inspiring. And it all started by 4 researchers who wanted to like decrease the gap of what researchers actually know and what the public perceive, which is a pretty big gap. So they created this game, and I will soon show you the instruction video, and you will see its simplicity and the really nice setting of the game. And I think very much thanks to the simplicity of the game, there was a snowball effect, and people have just loved the game ever since it was created. And we now have created various versions, as you will soon see. But I'll start by just showing you a little bit of data. So far we have estimated that about 1 million people have played the game, and it's a game from the age 12 and above, but it works just as well with teenagers as with professionals. Here are some quotas. This is my favorite quota from a school-type teenager who just proclaimed that, the game isn't fun anymore because I know all the cards, which means that he has learned a lot. And here's a quote from the previous Minister of Ecological Transition in France, who really loved the game as well, and thought that everybody in the French Parliament should play it. But let me start by showing you the instruction video. It's just 2 minutes, and it really neatly illustrates how the game works. Okay, so now maybe it didn't pop up in the... Okay, maybe I'll just stop sharing and share again, but share... No. It's strange. You can only see the presentation still, right?
No, you can. I think you have a clear link below. You can click it. Instruction video.
But it opens differently from what I'm used to.
Climate Call is a card game. In climate.
It's just okay. Stop sharing.
This is there in your browser, I feel, Carl.
Yeah, it is.
Do you want us to play it for you?
Well,
I have that with us. I think you sent it through email. Can I request JK sir to play track V63? We'll play it for you.
Maybe. Let me try just one last time because I just moved around my screen.
Carl, you have to share your screen and you have to go to your browser because this link is opening in a browser.
Yeah. Exactly. But now you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So here we go.
Climate Call is a card game. In Climate Call, the different climate impacts of activities, such as commuting, flying, and eating different foods, are compared. The game is about placing the activities in the correct order based on their climate impact. On the front of the cards, an activity is described. For example, a return flight from New York to Paris. The number on the back of the card specifies the climate impact from the activity calculated in kilograms of carbon dioxide, together with a little explanation. Shuffle the deck and place 2 starting cards in the middle. Read the cards and then turn them over. Place the card with the least kilograms of carbon dioxide to the left. For example, commute by electric bike, has less climate impact than heating a house in the UK by fossil gas. Then hand out 3 cards to each team, which consist of 2 or 3 players per team. In order to win, your team should get rid of the cards before the other team. One of the teams starts. They look at their cards and select one to place. Now there are 3 places where they can put the card. They choose to place the card, new laptop, in the middle and turn it over. They were right, and now they have only 2 cards left. Then it is the other team's turn, and it becomes a bit harder since there are more options for where to place a card. The team tries to place the card, plane ride, Los Angeles to New York. They guess that it has the largest impact on the climate. When the card is turned over, they see that they were wrong. The card is removed, and since they were wrong, they now need to pick a new card from the deck. Now it is the first team's turn again, and the play continues until one team wins the game by getting rid of all their cards first.
So that's the game in its entirety, and it, as you can see, it shows the proportions of activities that we do in everyday life, and what actually has a climate impact. And it's really nice to see this when we play this, for example, in the classroom with school kids, and when we play this with professionals, because there are so many systematic errors that we adults tend to do, which students don't do. And so many times the students can actually win against their teachers, because we adults, for example, we tend to overestimate the effect of flying, because we've heard so much about flying. And but this game is just actually the introduction to workshops and to lectures, and it's a really nice pitch and a way of getting interest up in schools, because we had 3 years of funding to create a lot of educational resources to go with the game, so that teachers can provide really nice climate education without being experts themselves. And the background to this was that in Sweden, there's in the Swedish school curricula, it says that sustainability should be incorporated into the education of all subjects in schools, which is of course great, but this also implies that there are lots of teachers that don't really know what they are to teach, because they have not themselves received any training. So we wanted to empower them, and we did this by creating the suggested lesson structures, where they can basically just take what they want from different slideshows, and then just walk through this lesson structure, where playing the game is one step, and then you have classroom reflections, and we discuss positive trends. And this is something that we really want to emphasize, and something that I will get back to in this presentation later on. And then we have additional exercises as well, which are tailor-made for schools and to be fun for school kids. For example, this one, which is climate visioning, where you are to imagine a successful climate society transition to net zero emissions, and you are to backtrace how we actually managed to get there. So you can set a timeline, for example, 2050, and then you can have these discussions, exercises. And this is something that I think people should do also with their friends when they have a dinner or whatever, because it's really a nice way of trying to see how we can get there. And then we also do have subject-specific exercises, which are all connected to the course curricula of each country's school programs and courses. And this is mostly for the STEM cells, so it's technology, natural science, chemistry, and physics. And then one last thing I would like to show you from our webpage is that in Swedish we have this for all the cards, but in the other languages we have it for about half the cards in the game. So we have calculations, explanations step by step. So people can take a card, for example, traveling all alone in a mid-sized gasoline car between Frankfurt and Berlin, back and forth. And then you can see what it is we have included. So some general information about the distance between Berlin and Frankfurt, and how much fuel the car burns when driving per kilometer. And then we have the fuel consumption and how much emissions there are from consuming fuel. And then we also include the emissions from the production of the car, and that is of course broken down to the lifespan of the car and then a total driving distance, and then that is divided to the proportion of that this trip might be, for example, a promille of the total distance that the car travels, and then 1 promille of the production emissions should also be dedicated to this trip. And so people can see that there's lots of science going into this, and that it's a game that clearly accounts for everything which is really possible to account for regarding direct effects, because there are always lots of secondary effects when it comes to emissions, and these are very hard to estimate. So let me see if I can move back to my presentation. Can you see the presentation now? If I do like this, for example,
Yes,
or
yes,
yeah.
we can. Yeah, we can see.
Good. So I went through that, and currently we have the game in 9 languages for 8 countries. The Estonian version is in 2 languages for both their Estonian and Russian-speaking population. And we are currently developing new games. We have in the pipeline Denmark, Finland, and India and Turkey, where we have funding for all but India. But India is a dear project for us, so something that we're focusing a lot on. And we are also working on new games on biodiversity and circularity. In Sweden, we also have a game on energy, and there's one on gender equality. And so that we have realized that this setup with a simple game where you have rules that everybody understands in a couple of minutes, how nice that works for attracting attention and increasing curiosity among the players. So we have wanted to move this and create something similar for other important topics. And then we have an ongoing project that I would like to tell you a little bit about, because it's something that we are constantly looking for partners and people with whom we can collaborate with in more countries. And that is a project that we call ETIP, Empowering Teachers, Inspiring Students. And it builds on a few pillars. So currently we have this ongoing in 7 European countries. And we have trained more than 1,000 teachers and distributed quite a lot of games. And this builds on us creating the game and the teaching material that I briefly showed you in a new language adapted to that country. It's not only a translation, but an adaptation to the emission factors and then also for the teacher material for the school system in that country, so that we can empower teachers and provide them with a tool that really suits them. And it's also there's also another pillar of teacher training. So we always have a collaborating partner in that country that trains teachers and distributes games to them. And then we have sometimes had a little bit of research going into it as well. And there is also always a team building, and there are best practice shared that we try to learn from each other and the practices that we have in our countries. I see that there are a couple of questions popping up, but I think I'll go through my presentation and then we can take the questions in the end. And speaking about the importance of lifting and highlighting positive news and important things or important advances that we make, I want to highlight one aspect. And this picture, it's a very interesting thing that I heard of just a few months ago. So there's a company that is trying to store data in plants. So what they are actually doing here is injecting data into the plant. And this sounds like sci-fi, but it's actually true. This company has their vision is to, instead of having these huge server halls that consumes loads of electricity, they would like to store data in plants and in forests. So they have a vision of like a forest where we would have our family photos and everything stored. And this sounds crazy, but the way that they do this, I've understood the basics of it. So because they can, in one single drop of water, they can fit in all the data that we consume in 1 year. And this is done by since programming, if you break it down to the smallest building stones, it's only ones and zeros in their binary language. And this binary language they managed to translate into DNA, and this DNA can be injected into plants. And I don't know yet how they do to extract the data that they have injected to plants. So they probably have many issues to solve, but just the pure fact that human beings are capable of creating something like this is just, it's just amazing. And it shows that if human beings would be working for solving climate change, I think we would do it in a decade. We would cut the emissions in just a decade if there would have been political will to do it. The matter is really, it always breaks down to political will. And I mean, all us human beings, we are the ones who create the political will. So in our everyday life, we have a possibility every day to affect other people and to inspire this change, because the tools and the capacity is there among all of us. So, and I think this nicely illustrates how we can do whatever we want to, just if we decide to go for it. It's within our scope. So I was also planning to have a little climate quiz with you. It's just 5 quick questions, but it's another way of showing how to discuss the climate topic in a fun and engaging way. So I want you all to go to menti.com, whoever wants to participate. The rest of you can all, of course, just watch along as the presentation goes. And I hope that I manage now with the technique to just continue sharing. And I will start the presentation.
Thank you, Carl. I'll have to stop sharing.
Okay, I'll stop share. Okay. Yes. So I'll stop sharing.
Yes. So that's very interesting. I mean, I just went through your presentation and the kind of thing that is created, which is very interesting for not only for the kids or young or youth only, but for adults also.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a lot of questions from students. Anybody, please raise your hand if you want to put a question. I have a young climate girl here. I just okay, Devina.
So,
please introduce yourself to Carl, and you can put up your question.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. I'm Devina Uppal from grade 8 from the modern school ECNCR Delhi, and I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Sir, kindly guide us on how can we face modernization and advancements without interrupting the nature, and please share some practices which are performed in Sweden by students like us.
Wow, that's a good question. And I mean, all human activities affect nature in lots of ways, but I think by basically listening to what researchers and experts say on for example, agriculture, which is a huge thing that affects climate change and is something that we can't live without, because it's what creates our food. And it's really tricky of how to do this in the best way. And a good example of something that illustrates how complicated it is, for example, that it's common to speak about how good it is to plant trees. But if you plant trees in the wrong place, for example, in the Netherlands is a perfect example. So because the Netherlands is a small country in Europe, but it provides it's the second biggest exporter of food, and it's basically only cropland and cities. So there's no place to plant trees. But if you would plant trees, you would have to take from farmland. And if you would do that, you would move agriculture somewhere else. And typically that would be to Brazil, for example. So they would go and chop down rainforest to cultivate what they could have cultivated in Holland instead, and in the Netherlands. And that's, for example, something. It illustrates how complex it is, and that you really need to see what science says, and you have to take this to whatever question it is you want to raise, and whatever solution you are looking for that given place, because the solution will always be different. I mean, in some places it's great to plant trees, of course, but then there are of course general truths that it's never a good idea to chop down rainforest. There is always better solutions and better places to cultivate food, for example. And moving on to the second part of your question, I mean, things that we do quite a lot in Sweden, for example, that I think inspires the school kids in a nice way, is that we have days where the school kids actually go to nature, and it's often not really like going into the wild, but it's going to some nearby little river, and then the kids get to examine what life there is in the river, and doing these things gives a sensation of what there is in nature that surrounds us and in the cities where we live. And I think that is becoming more and more important as we spend more and more time with our online with our smartphones, and so we tend to forget the importance of nature. So I would say that something really important to do, and if you have the possibility in your school, is to actually go out into nearby nature and see what kind of life there is, and so on. I hope that answers.
Sir, I planned on like every festival or like that, so that we can get a balance of planting the trees.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah, that's a great initiative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I see there are people. Yeah, please.
Can we have Sana Chopra? Okay.
Yes, sir. Greetings, sir. My name is Sana Chopra, and I'd like to ask you that we've heard a lot about greenhouse gas emissions and carbon footprints. What can we, as an individual and as a student, do to make sure that greenhouse gas emissions are reducing, and we can like be particular of our carbon footprints?
Yes. So, well, in India, I mean, Indian emissions are really at a low level already. If all countries would manage to cut their emissions to the Indian level, we would basically solve the climate change issue already by doing that. So, I mean, you're really, in one sense, a role model to follow. And I know that it is already very hard to cut emissions in India. For example, through our game, it illustrates like simple things that you can do on an individual level, but which is also can be scaled up. For example, when it comes to food, but that, I mean, in India, we have compared, for example, in the Indian demo that we have created of the game to illustrate how much better that Indian diet, which is in a great perspective vegetarian, how much better it is than comparing, for example, with the US diet. But things that you can keep in mind is that, for example, beef and dairy products tend to take up a large share of our the food emissions from food, and that imported food is also a bad thing many times if it has traveled a long distance. But normally, I mean, India is such a big country, so you have this normally in most of the food consumed in India is from India. So, and then of course, when it comes to traveling, if there's the possibility of choosing between public transport and private transport, it doesn't really matter that much if you fly or if you go by a car. It's of course, when you fly, you can tend to fly longer, but if it's short distances, it's not a big difference unless you are lots of people in the car. But it's always the case that if you go by public means like train or buses, it's always a lot better. So these are concrete things that you can do on a personal level. And then I think in your situation, the best thing is to, in a long-term perspective, I mean, continue to interest for this and and try to learn as much as possible. I think many times the greatest thing you can do for the climate is to influence others, and to influence. I mean, in the end, politicians who take many important decisions, but which is of course hard for school kids to do. But I think it's important to to try to learn as much as possible.
So much, sir. It was great interacting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I think we can take a couple of more questions. We have Dr. Niall McCann already in the session. Wait. Mahi Sood, you want to put a question? Hello, Niall, sir.
Hi there, just unmuted. How is everyone?
It's great, and I think students are dying to meet you online and talk to you again. Meanwhile, I'll take a question from Carl from Mahi Sood. Mahi?
Yes, sir. So, sir, my question towards you was that the game you created, climate change, has it lasted any impact on the future generations? Or as per to you, what was the main motive behind devising the game?
Well, the main motive while creating the game, I wasn't part of creating the game, but my brother, who's a scientist and who's also on our team, he was one of the founders. So I've been watching the process from back then where they started it, and I remember the main motive being a fun and engaging way of communicating climate change, because in Sweden at least, the debate has been going on for some 20 years, and it's been with a focus on the things that we have to sacrifice, and many times that climate change and all the negative impact that it has. But we must look at the positive things there are, and one way is to illustrate that you can actually work and discuss this in a fun way, which we do by creating this game, so that we start with a fun approach, and then we, in our web material and when we go lecturing, we always focus a lot on the positive development that we see in many places. For example, I realized that we won't have time for the climate quiz I prepared, but there I have lots of these examples. For example, in the EU, 60% so far this year of electricity produced have come from renewable sources. And there are many things like that, and these is important information that has to come out, and so that has been our main driver and motivation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Carl. I think we can take one more question from one of the participants who got to be asking that. Anybody? Bhavya Chauhan, you have a question for Carl?
Yes, sir. Sir, I am Bhavya Chauhan, and my question was, what was the reason?
Can you just give a bit of introduction yourself? Which grade? How old?
Yeah.
You look very old, by the way.
I am Bhavya Chauhan. I'm from 7th A, and I am 11 years old. So my question, I'm from I'm from the Shriram University School, Greater Noida West. So my question was that what was the main reason and what was the idea that I should make this game, and what would it do, like the main motive?
So yeah, similar. I was already a bit into that in the last question, but I think we need to raise awareness. But we have seen that in Sweden we have somewhat failed, because when we've raised awareness in Sweden, we have also caused a lot of anxiety, and we want to do this differently in other countries. So we want to raise awareness in a fun way, and doing it so that people can grasp the facts and see that this is facts, and so that they can differ between they can tell the difference between what is actually concrete facts and what is just something that people say, because today there's so much information going on, so it's often hard for people to tell what is true and what is not. And so we try to both create this game and make it clearly how we have gone about while creating the game, and then to create new similar games on related topics to continue to spread information in an engaging way, and we want to do this all over the world.
Thank you, Carl. I think we have enough questions. We have 4 minutes to go before we welcome Dr. Niyal, and this will also conclude the first 3 hours, the first session of this 5th edition of 24 Hour, the largest and longest invited online event. We did not know it will take this shape when we started in 2020. And I must introduce Dr. Niyal. He is very kind. He has been there from the very first edition, one single email. And I know how busy he is. His life is like always outdoors. but still he finds time to be with us and finds time to respond to messages and queries. So before we welcome Dr. Niyal and say thanks to Carl, we would like to show a small video to conclude this session. It was performed by Miss Teen Earth Aishwarya Vinu Nayyar in 2020 edition. And then we will turn on to Niyal. JK sir, can you play this track B33? Is a Hindi song, but it means it was performed by Hollywood celebrities, but it means let a bit of fresh air come in.
काला काला आसमां है, बादल भी मैला है, घुटता है दम यहाँ जो धुआं धुआं फैला है।
काला काला आसमां है, बादल भी मैला है, घुटता है दम यहाँ जो धुआं धुआं फैला है। फैक्ट्री हो, केमिकल हो, चूल्हा हो या कार हो,
पोल्यूशन की मार से बच्चे क्यों बीमार हो।
थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे, थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे, थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे। क्यों तू यहाँ वहाँ कचरा चलाता है, मौत का काला बादल आसमां में छाता है, धुआं फैला के तू खुशियां मनाता है, फसलें कटी खेतों में आग क्यों लगाता है। चल हवा ने दे, जरा हवा ने दे।
पैदा होती हरे हरे ट्री में, कुदरत देती हवा हवा फ्री में, हमको उसका मोल नहीं है जो भी हमें मिले इसी में।
मत घूम तू ऐसे हरी में, हवाओं को दे जगह वारी में, ऐसा ना हो जिंदगी खो जाए अपनी बेकार के इस हड़बड़ी में। चल हवा ने दे, जरा हवा ने दे।
चिड़ियों को पंछियों को आसमां में आने दे, नए नए पेड़ों पे उन्हें घोंसले बनाने दे।
ट्रैफिक में अटकी सांसों को घर उनके जाने दे, जहर की मौत ना दे तो जीने के बहाने दे। थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे, थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे, थोड़ी हवा ने दे, ताज़ी हवा ने दे।
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for being with us. And wonderful initiative of this engaging young audience with environmental awareness and climate action through games, which is their strong forte. So we hope to be in touch.
And I just want to say also that the game is soon to come in India, and I'll let you know when it's there.
if it comes before September, then we'll put up an annual exhibition for that, because we get almost 10,000 crowd over there with the parents and teachers, all young people over there. So we'll welcome.
Wonderful.
Okay.